Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Damage Report on Lockdown. And I can see in the chat that people are already saying, Damage Report's starting on time. What is this? Hey, we've been pretty good about being on time considering. Do you know what we're dealing with here? But anyway, thank you to everybody who's already here. Everybody in the chat, but also J.R. Jackson. J.R., it's not Wednesday. What the hell are you doing here?
You know what? It doesn't matter what day it is anymore, does it? Is today Saturday or is today Monday? They all feel the same.
What's the difference? I don't know. I make less videos on the weekends, so I guess that's something. By the way, I saw Dan from the internet's in the chat.
Oh, really?
Who just typed out my corona, which seems inappropriate. But you caused this by implying that our theme song is like My Sharona.
The problem is that whoever chose the theme song did it because it's the same song.
Okay, so that person is me, and that is not why I picked it. I picked it because it roughly went to that animation thingy. Anyway, JR, thank you for being here. Normally JR is on Wednesdays. I think tomorrow it's actually going to be Emma. They've done a little switcheroo because Emma is also on lockdown and is, very busy, obviously.
Emma and I had an agreement to toss up your show and make it as crazy as possible in 1 week.
It's insane, but I think I can adapt. And so everybody who's already here in the chat, thank you so much. There's already almost 1,000 of you here. Amanda, hello to you too. And so if everyone here could get us started with some likes to help send this stream out to other people. Turns out that the algorithm is just constantly thirsty for likes. So let's provide it that which it craves. So if you could do that, that would be great. Feel free to share it and all of that. Through the course of the hour, we've got a number of topics that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be starting off with the absolutely insane, incomprehensible news about Wisconsin, which is voting right now in a pandemic. Seems like a bad idea. We're gonna give you an idea of what the lines are like there. The lines of people who are potentially going to become exposed to coronavirus. So that's always fun. And Donald Trump and hydroxychloroquine. We've been wondering if there was some sort of financial reason that he's been promoting this so heavily. Turns out, what do you know? There is. And
that's nothing like his personality, though.
What's that?
That's nothing like anything he would do, though. It's totally out of his personality.
He's a selfless servant of the people. We've got some other selfless servants of the people, those who profited in the stock market when they were getting confidential information. We've got some updates on that, including a little bit of justice, perhaps, although it's still kind of dark. Stephanie Grisham is out, and also we've got a racist doctor attacking a girl because she isn't keeping her distance. Makes sense for some reason. But anyway, we've got a lot that we're going to get to, so why don't we launch into the first story, JR?
Down.
Okay. It seemed like, as of yesterday, Wisconsin would not be going ahead with in-person voting today. And yet, as you probably are aware, they're voting in Wisconsin, in person, in a pandemic. They're on lockdown. They're told not to get near to each other. Businesses shut down, people furloughed from their jobs, and yet we're going to pack the streets with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of people, because the Wisconsin Supreme Court and the Supreme Court seem to think that it was a good idea. Because in America, you can now have a situation where the political action of one party allows them to potentially kill the members of the other party. Now, if that seems like I'm going overboard, let's get into it a little bit. So yesterday, the governor, a Democrat, delayed the election until June, as many other states have, as activists have been pushing for them to for some time. But unfortunately, Republicans didn't like that, so they appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled 4-2 along ideological lines that Governor Tony Evers, a Democrat, could not use emergency powers to unilaterally change the date of the election, which he sought to do to circumvent Republican opposition to the move. Now, bear in mind, he didn't want to do this through executive action. He wanted legislation that would slow it down, but Republicans refused to, because why are they going to get off their asses and pass a bill that would serve to protect the lives of Democrats? They have no interest in that. And so they went to the Supreme Court. And JR, we've got a lot more details and obviously reactions, but the Republicans have now forced the Democrats to have their primary today. And I know that technically there are other elections too, but 99% of the point of all of this is a Democrat primary that will result in Democrats getting sick and Democrats dying That's what Republicans in the state legislature and the state Supreme Court have now given us.
I think I've been trying to avoid the thought of this being the end game here, because ever since this has gone, and I was like, as you mentioned, the major part of this is the primary election for Democrats. So if Republicans who control the legislature and also this Republican-controlled Supreme Court of the state decides to go this route, I'm like, what is their end game? Because it's not like it benefits them. It's not like it's a general election where, of course, Republicans don't want Democratic voters to come out because, of course, strong voting numbers is a detriment to the Republican Party. They need fewer people voting so they can win because they don't represent the majority of the countries. That's been admitted. So anyway, so I was like, what's the end game here if they're looking to disrupt, in other states, Trump would have a rally on the day of an election to disrupt what's going on. So those are disruptions. This is looking to have them continue to do it. But for what reason? And I couldn't allow myself to believe that it was, hey, you know what? Majority of Democratic voters are coming out. So let's go ahead and allow that to happen because who cares if they get sick? And in fact, good thing if they do. I'm still not there yet, but I can't figure out what else it could be.
Well, we have a couple of other ideas. I personally believe that, look, it's impolite of me to point out that Republicans who have, since this has been a country, as well as sometimes Democrats, have worked to limit voting as much as possible, that they would ever do something that would result in a situation where people were too scared to come out and vote, and theoretically that it would kill some of them. I mean, as I said in the intro, how often do you get to pass a piece of legislation that has the result of killing the opposition party? Right. But that is going to be the effect. We can quibble over whether that's the intent, but that is the effect. And let's bear in mind, we are being very fair here on the damage report. How much did we attack Joe Biden, Tom Perez, and all the rest for pushing forward with elections that would kill their own people? I checked my Twitter. I was very critical of them. And now the Republicans are doing it, messing in a situation that has virtually nothing to do with them. Now, that's not to say it doesn't have anything to do with them. We will get to that. But I do want to just go to reactions from two individuals. I want to contrast these reactions. So the first from Bernie Sanders, who says, it's outrageous that the Republican legislative leaders and the conservative majority in the Supreme Court in Wisconsin are willing to risk the health and safety of many thousands of Wisconsin voters tomorrow for their own political game. That is a great response, and Bernie Sanders goes on to say that he is not going to be advertising and all of that and trying to get people out to vote, even though, let's bear in mind, that is going to hurt him. And I believe that Joe Biden is roughly doing the same thing, so fair is fair. The other reaction is from Tom Perez, who says, our country is in the middle of a public health emergency, but you wouldn't know it by the way the Republican Party in Wisconsin and across the country is acting, and it's part of a DNC statement that is perfectly fine as long as you just woke up from some sort of coma. Yeah, Tom Perez. It is really irresponsible of them to push for us to vote, which you were just doing in the last set of elections. So I'm glad that you are now aboard the let's not kill our voters train, but you were like going ahead with that in the just 2 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to mention. It seems like, at least if, again, I'm still looking for the end game here from these Republicans that are controlling these things. They have cover. There's a level of cover that's been provided from the words of Joe Biden to Tom Perez over allowing these things to happen. That's when Bernie Sanders came out and said, hey, we're worried about the health and safety of citizens and voters, and let's make sure this goes off without a hitch with the right way later. Then I don't know if they want to continue to drive a wedge between the two factions of the party. But again, that being the reason to risk people's lives, I still don't see it as a good enough reason.
Yeah. It's. I saw Gabby in the chat said someone should invade America to spread democracy, and I think that we could use some of that. We could have used that even before this. But I mean, like, as I'm watching these primaries go by and the continued voting in many of them, I just have to wonder, like, what are we setting ourselves up for in the general election? Like, I don't think anyone really knows. There's a lot of theories, obviously a lot of speculation, but I don't think anyone actually knows. And here's the scary thing. It's one thing for the Republican state legislature in Wisconsin to team up with the Republican-led Supreme Court of Wisconsin. That's bad enough. But it wasn't just them. You also had the Supreme Court nationally getting involved in this in a separate decision that also served to make sure that more people would end up getting sick. So separately, in another blow to Wisconsin Democrats, the U.S. Supreme Court's conservative leaning majority ruled against their attempt to extend the deadline for absentee voting in Tuesday's elections. In a 5-4 vote, the majority said that such a change fundamentally alters the nature of the election. The court's 4 liberal members dissented, with Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg writing that the court's order, I fear, will result in massive disenfranchising of many individuals. So that by itself doesn't necessarily force more people to go out there and vote, but it will have the side effect of doing that for a reason that I want to get into. So the state so far has received a crush of absentee ballot requests, about 1.2 million, when it typically receives less than 250,000 in a spring election. Tens of thousands of voters are not expected to even receive their ballots until after Election Day, effectively disenfranchising them through no fault of their own. So that means that if you were one of those people that have requested one of these ballots, you would have had extra time until the U.S. Supreme Court stepped in and said, no, you're going to have to put it out right now. You're going to have to get it out. Let's see. Ruth Bader Ginsburg says, tens of thousands of voters who timely requested ballots are unlikely to receive them by April 7th, the court's postmarked deadline. So before, you were going to have an extended period of time to get it and to send it in. And because so many people are requesting it, many of them aren't even going to get it before they were already supposed to have postmarked it, which means they don't get to vote. Or they have to rush, assuming they're able to, they have to rush to stand in lines and potentially expose themselves to coronavirus. So damned if you do, damned if you don't.
It's crazy. Accountability and explanation needs to come more for adults that are in charge of running states and the federal government in our country. I don't understand it. Every time I see grown folks who we've elected and put in places or been appointed to positions that are important to the well-being and progress of the nation, they continue to just do things that fly in the face of reality, normalcy, and common sense, and then no one asks them. So when this problem is presented and says, hey, the postmark date is April 7th, and many people can't even get it by no fault of their own, I assume the question must be asked. I'm looking for the answer. So when these folks are asked, hey, what's your response to this obvious disenfranchisement of voters? Where's that answer? I need to have that question asked. I need it answered. Or they can just ignore it like they do many other things they do that disenfranchises people, that violates people's voting rights. It happens all the time. And anytime someone wants to do something about it, we reel back those protections for the Voting Rights Act and say, we don't need to do that anymore because it's already been taken care of. That whole thing back in the Civil Rights era, it's done now. We're good. Mm-hmm. Where's the real explanation as to why right now in 2020, we've got a state that's going to run this election and then not give people the chance to vote in it, and then not give an explanation as to why they're okay with that?
Yeah, and it seems sort of crazy that it's 2020. Like, we imagined that we would be 15 years into flying cars at this point, but it's still basically impossible in large parts of the country for large quantities of Americans to vote, and to vote safely. We can't come up with anything to allow them to do that. And voice chat apps still are terrible. Like, why is it that by 2020 we haven't fixed these two fairly fundamental things? Yeah. But by the way, JR, you were wondering about what the possible reason for this could be. And I know that a lot of people are going to hear me saying that Republicans actively want to kill voters of the other party and say, well, that's probably a little bit too far. Okay, maybe it is. And here's another potential explanation. So this was a tweet from Donald Trump, who said, the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled that tomorrow's election will proceed as scheduled. Vote for Justice Daniel Kelly tomorrow and be safe. So that is a current Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin who's going up for re-election for the first time after being appointed, and is facing a challenge from more liberal Jill Karofsky in a nonpartisan general election. So, like I said in the very beginning, it is not just the Democratic primary that's going forward. There are other elections, but for the most part, who cares about any of those? But they do seem to care about this one, about maintaining their majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. And it is possible that they think that having this re-election in a time when as few people as possible will vote will give them the maximum chance of holding on to that seat. And so what if maybe a few hundred, a few thousand people get exposed to coronavirus? And so what if dozens or hundreds might die as a result of that? They care about power. That has been abundantly clear, particularly in the Trump era, about pursuing it, acquiring it, and then doing whatever you need to, up to and including killing those who oppose you, to make sure that you hold on to that power.
Yeah, we'll have to look into whatever else Trump may have tweeted about other folks that should be voted for, that he's advocating, that he's backing, is endorsing for this election in Wisconsin. all around the board, just to see if it has more to do with just this particular this appointment or this judge position. Because as we know, Mitch McConnell was pointed out from back at the near end of the term of Obama's second term. The whole idea, the whole point is to hold off and pack as many courts as possible throughout the country with obedient justices that have nothing to do with following the law, but just following what the Republican Party, and specifically Trump's Republican Party, wants to do. And this is one of those instances. They had enough of them in this for this decision. They had enough of them in the Supreme Court for that next decision. This is going just as planned. So when you're trying to take over, the people that are looking to be that are looking to gain as much power and utilize it to their advantage as much as possible, they don't care about people's lives. Why would they care about that? They haven't cared about it in any other normal situation. Why would they care about it when it's taking care of itself? They're sitting back and enjoying it as long as they get a chance to continue to take advantage of it. This is just even from capitalism point of range, when we're trying to get people back to work as soon as possible. And oh my God, these huge corporations are hurting, to even the election process. They don't care. It doesn't really matter to them.
They don't. And not long ago, I interviewed Tom Hartman, and we talked about why Democrats don't put a price in any way on the Republicans, and it's not just Republicans, but when it's like 90% one party and 10% the other, I don't want to have to keep giving goddamn caveats on them being so vigorously, viciously opposed to democracy in America, and their fans liking it, honestly, that their voters don't want more people to vote. But independents, perhaps, or people who are not strongly affiliated with a party, might be bothered by the fact that one of the two parties is actively engaged in a war with American democracy, but the Democrats barely talk about it. There is no cost to it. Republicans can go around stripping people of the right to vote all over the country, and they don't really suffer in any way as a result of that. And now, that was before them doing that would potentially lead to people dying. So now it's even worse. I feel like people should start to take this seriously.
Which people? We're talking about
elected citizens? Democrats, the Democratic leadership. I think that if you are going to be in Democratic leadership, you should maybe once a year, lead on something that matters.
Well, they're too afraid to, because then these are hot button issues. These are touchy subjects. These are things that if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, especially from a position of influence and power, you might come off badly. Citizens might turn on you. It could ruin your election. We're going to talk about Georgia soon and how that's ruining someone else's election, at least at this point. So the fear that's based in saying something that you don't know how it's going to go over is overwhelming to Democrats. So they're worried so much. They're like, Republicans are setting fire to everything, and they've always done that. Everyone's used to it, so they get away with it. We're the slow walker, mealy mouth folks that don't do anything. Yeah. So once you don't do anything, no one expects you to do it, and you can just sit back and continue to hope things get better. It's not going to happen that way.
No, it's not going to. Okay, so everybody is being great, aside from one troll in the super chats. We're going to read those in just a minute, but we have a little bit more on this, and then we'll get to some of the comments that have come in. So let's get ready for this. Wisconsin is voting, which means Wisconsinites who want to exercise their democratic rights probably are rightfully terrified of what effect it's going to have on their health to do so, but feel like they live in a democracy, so they should be able to vote, are being put into the position where they have to go out and violate social distancing rules to do so. And so they're out there, and I want to give you an idea of what that looks like. So people have been uploading videos. You're seeing one here of people, and they're doing what they can. They're wearing masks, and they're spreading out, but still, that's still far more contact than you want to have. And we have
Wisconsin. We have 6 minutes left to go before the polls open. Here's a live look at a Waukesha polling place. The only one in Waukesha.
It looks like they're trying to space them a bit,
so many changes.
With the cones, right?
With the cones, I guess.
The cones are there, and I hate to be the cones don't extend as far as the line goes, of course, because as we've seen, I was at CVS a week or two ago, and in line for a prescription, and there was these markers, right? On the floor with tape lines, and they had them distanced and everything. And there was a lot of these precautions put in place. And people don't always follow those things. And then, if someone says, hey, can you please check the line? See, there's a blue line right there. Can you step to that next section? People aren't going to like that either. There's been confrontations. There's been arguments. There's been disruptions. There's been people that we had stories of guys that were arrested for saying they had it and sneezing on someone at a pharmacy location because the worker said, hey, could you step back, please, sir? And he didn't like that because he felt it was rude. So those things are going to happen. It's human interactions, especially when everyone is on edge, upset. I guarantee you a large majority of people don't want to be there right then.
Oh, totally.
So, so a lot of tension and a lot of energies are going to be, negative energy is going to be exchanged. And I don't want to predict it, but it's not going to end well in other ways either.
Yeah, like if you still somehow have faith in humanity, just try to get humans to line up for something. It's impossible. You can't do it. You can get to the moon. You can't get humans to line up. And especially when like those spacers, which I've been to the supermarket, they have those spacers. There's, 8 of them. And there's 50 people in line. So you do the math on that, and the math comes up with you having coronavirus. So I want to show one more of these videos. So we've got this showing how long this line is.
Well, they have the cones all the way through this one. And at least they thought, they didn't picture it to the parking lot. They pictured it only to the sides of the building. Which again, it's not.
It's still going,
bro. It's not even the poll workers' fault. Whoever organized this, what are they supposed to do?
Exactly.
Just in case people were wondering, if we're getting on the poll workers for not putting the spacers out correctly or crowd control appropriately enough.
Yeah.
What are they supposed to do? Like, this line got formed around 2 different blocks. However that got formed, who knows? Maybe the voters in line said, hey, I guess we'll wrap this way now.
Maybe. Because the cones don't go that far. Yeah, people, and they're spacing as much as they can. To give you an idea of how long that line is, I'm in it. Like, it stretches here. And so, like, I feel so bad for them because I got to vote, and you know what I did to vote? I walked into the place that I voted, and yeah, there were some concerns about coronavirus, but it wasn't nearly as common as it is now. I had the ability, the privilege, to be able to vote and be relatively sure that it wasn't going to kill me. Is it so much to ask that in the most advanced, wealthy democracy in the history of our planet, that everyone should get that right? That we could come up with a situation, and we could, by the way, the Supreme Court came in and stopped it. We had the delay that potentially would have gotten us to the point where less people would have had the virus.
Well,
and then they stepped in.
I need answers. They need to give me an official statement, and I demand it. They're going to give it to me because I'm the one who demanded it.
Yeah, they will. And by the way, you should know that one of the reasons the lines are going to be as bad as they are is that there are far less places to actually vote. And no, this is not like in a lot of recent elections where the Republicans just came in and shut down a bunch of polling places, generally in areas where rich white people don't live. That's probably happening too. But what's happening here is in Milwaukee, I'm reading that there were 5 open out of 180 due to a worker shortage. Because what do you know? People are terrified of interacting with literally hundreds of thousands of people during a goddamn pandemic.
We've said
so they didn't show up, understandably.
My mother's one of them too. Poll workers generally are older folks, and it's a generalization, but from what I've seen, majority of them tend to be older folks in my experiences. My mother was one of them. She's a group of that elderly community at this point in her life. So do you think they want to be exposed to it after all we've been hearing about how it affects? And then they said the older you are, many times you have more issues with it. Do you think they want to be out there sitting there and taking every person that comes by them and exchanging any kind of, paper information, conversation, any of that with them? They're not going to be there. And also, a large majority of voters won't be there either. And I'm not out here telling people not to go vote, but it's people's normal thought process. If we've been on quarantine and self-quarantine and stay-at-home suggestions, why would people leave the house and do this?
Yeah, it'd be super confusing, especially when they probably saw the news yesterday that they weren't going to. And then late at night finds out that they have to. It's just a mess. And it doesn't need to be. It's a primary. It can wait. Okay, now with that, I do want to catch up because you guys have been absolutely awesome in the super chat. So let's see. Luck Dragon said, "Can someone tell Elon to hurry up and break the warp barrier so the Vulcans can save us already, please?" Yeah, I don't know about Elon on this topic so far.
I understood about 10% of that.
It's about Star Trek. F. Harvey says, "Hi everybody from France. We're all in this together. Bad leadership and flip-flopping, lack of everything, etc. Love you too, J Squared." Hey, here we are. Thank you for that. That was very nice of you. She also said, hydroxychloroquine craziness is due to a French MD. I'm truly sorry for the cult of Pierre Raoul. It's created the same mess here. Yeah, I've read a couple of different origin stories for how that got started connected to coronavirus, and none of it's good, but we're going to talk more about that in just a minute, actually. Amanda says it's about a Supreme Court vote, and the Supreme Court met and voted over video chat. Yeah, it might be about the future of it. Cujo says, my very good friend's grandpa just died because someone didn't follow social distancing rules and spread COVID to an entire nursing home. Yeah, it is devastating nursing homes, and I feel really, really bad for you and for your friend. Harpsy says, I enjoy the damage report. Thank you.
Straightforward to the point.
It is. That was a troll. Someone delete that one. Carson says, is there a way we can make the Wisconsin recent state votes void and make them have a do-over? This is crazy. Did you see the lines? They're long. No, I doubt. I seriously doubt that there is.
The way that it would be done, or the people that would be in charge of that, don't want it.
No, they don't. They don't want it. Franklin says, 197 viruses. Keep blocking the trolls and bots. Teach Anna and Jenk how to block them too, please. Good job. We're working on it. I'm going to hopefully get it going well here, and then we'll spread it to the main show. Down with the bourgeoisie, up with the proletariat. LOL. Thank you, Franklin. And Johnny and Ada, thank you for your awesome fox emojis.
Are those foxes?
I think they were foxes.
I was trying to figure it out. I thought they were gerbils or something.
Something like that. Lil Yumper was talking about the hydroxychloroquine story about Trump, which we're going to get to in just a minute. Jana says, Tom Perez is the definition of the pot calling the kettle black. Yeah, Tom, the virus didn't destroy our memories. Yeah,
this is something I didn't mention real quick when we talk about Perez and Biden. If you're going to say you changed your mind about it suddenly for whatever reason, at least you have to acknowledge that you said the opposite before and be like, previously I was thinking this is the situation, but now that I'm on this side, it's because this, and that. Give us a full answer. Again, this is 5th grade stuff.
Yeah.
You have to answer a question, answer it fully and with meaning so that people can understand what you're saying and where you stood. But that's not on accident. It's because they don't know how to answer questions. They don't want to.
That's like even Dr. Drew admitted he had been wrong after doing a bunch of shady stuff. Harpsy, thank you for your super chat. Madeline says, I hope every voter gets a COVID treatment voucher. Well, hopefully everyone will in America.
Yeah.
Ronnie, thank you. Melissa says, I used to be on hydroxychloroquine and it caused extreme joint pain and it was killing my liver. Ironically, doctor gave it to me for my joint pain. That's unfortunate. It does have severe side effects. Amanda says, supposed to get an absentee ballot, never got it. Yeah, and you have to postmark it today, so hopefully the mailman's got it today, or else you don't get to vote. Heather says, the point of voting today is to force Bernie to drop out early. They're willing to risk lives, but they're pretty sure Bernie isn't and will cave. Maybe. I don't know that would necessarily drive the Republicans. Previously, for Tom Perez, perhaps. Jana says, should I be worried about this happening in Pennsylvania because our voting date was moved from this month to June? Well, look, I mean, in June, we're still going to be dealing with this, but hopefully it'll be better.
It's such a good idea. This is one of those things. This will be hard to spread to a large number of people. But if you take into account what's happening in Wisconsin, if you have a chance as far as voting by mail, get going on it now. If your voting time is later, and if you don't assume that it's going to be fine and all dandy later, start planning for the worst case scenario as far as voting in your state, and you have to try and figure a way to get your materials. I don't know what those best ways are. It's different everywhere. Or if you've already got it, or if you know when it's coming, or if you can't leave the house as well and find somebody to get it. I don't know, but this is the time to call and potentially contact folks to find out the best way to do it. Don't expect it to go fine in your state.
Yeah. Rares asks, how are you getting ready before streaming from home? I sit at my desk, which I'm usually at when I'm not streaming too, so it's a pretty smooth transition. I just have more lights blaring on me. That's really the only difference.
I was wondering what degree of get ready, because there's a lot of aspects of that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll do a Bitsy at some point, but we still have our producers are helping us remotely, and all that stuff is going on. We just don't get to be in the same room together.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, why don't we jump back to the news, because there's a lot of stories we want to get to, including some huge ones. I don't know why I left that running, so we're going to turn that off. Okay. So we've been wondering what is behind Trump's obsession with hydroxychloroquine. Is it just a distraction? Is he actually obsessed with it for some reason? Or is there a financial incentive behind it? Francesca Fiorentini, who was on the show yesterday, believes it was that. And turns out maybe there was something to that, according to the New York Times. So if hydroxychloroquine becomes an accepted treatment for COVID-19, several pharmaceutical companies stand to profit, including shareholders and senior executives with connections to the president. Mr. Trump himself has a small personal financial interest in Sanofi, the French drug maker that makes Plaquenil, the brand name version of hydroxychloroquine. As of last year, Mr. Trump reported that his 3 family trusts each had investments in a Dodge and Cox mutual fund, whose largest holding was Sanofi. So that is just the beginning of the connections to Trump and Trump's inner circle, other people in the administration. But what do you know? A few days of digging, and it turns out that, yes, he potentially does stand to profit from people going hydroxy crazy.
There's the transparency of this guy on accident, by the way. This isn't planned transparency like he says he was going to be. The transparency of everything he does based in self-worth, based in his financial statements, especially since things are hurting with his resorts and his hotels and all that stuff because of the natural cause of this. No one's going to look at this and jaw is going to drop. They're going to go, oh, I should have thought of that. Unless they already did, which I'm sure many of us considered this in the first place.
Yeah.
This is how things work. This is when they're talking about how socialism is going to ruin the country. But this is capitalism. So you do things. Capitalism is so important to you that you do things that that aren't beneficial to the citizens of the country based off of your bottom line. That's how it always works. And it's consistent competition to be the biggest a-hole, to be the person who screws over the country the most for their bottom line. Or if you don't, you're not a real American. So we've wavered away from any care for the citizens or any real thought process to how to use these things. Again, there's many conservatives online, pundits that are saying, hey, everybody who's against hydroxychloroquine just want more people to die.
Yeah.
What they want is for this to be tested fully so we can find out what it is. It's this scientific process that goes to before you put things in people's bodies on a broad national scale.
Yeah, and by the way, we're getting what we want. That is actually what's going on behind the scenes. What I want is for Trump to not freak people out, give them false hope, and arm them with something that will cause them to ignore the medical advice of experts by this guy who understands less about science than literally any child you've met, talking about this drug and making money. So we had a little bit of corruption. You want some more corruption? Because we've got more of it. Now, I want you to bear in mind that Sanofi says, according to Ashley Koss, spokeswoman, that the company no longer sells or distributes that name brand version in the US, although it does sell it around the globe. And I'm sure that if it starts getting used for this massively, they won't start selling it in the US again. Yeah. So bear that in mind. Also, I would run a fact check on that in the first place, but and it's international. It's going to come back here. Anyway, let's talk about some of the other connections here because it runs deep. Sanofi's largest shareholders include Fisher Asset Management, the investment company run by Ken Fisher, a major donor to Republicans, including to Mr. Trump. A spokesman for Mr. Fisher declined to comment. Probably a wise choice. Another investor in both Sanofi and Mylan, another pharmaceutical firm, is Invesco, the fund previously run by Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary. Mr. Ross said in a statement Monday that he was, quote, not aware that Invesco has any investments in companies producing the drug, quote, nor do I have any involvement in the decision to explore this as a treatment. My, there's been a lot of activity in DC recently involving stocks that they have no ideas going on. I'm not interested in that stuff. It's too technical.
Yeah. They're all multimillionaires just by accident. They have no input. They have no idea. They're clueless as to how the financial markets work. They have no idea how business works. They have no idea how investments work. They have no idea how their money got here. Oh, it's a blind trust. Oh, that bank account is run by my 12-year-old niece. No, it's not. No, it's not. Rich people don't accidentally become rich. They don't accidentally have hordes of money. They don't accidentally put money in places that makes them tons of more money and take it out of other places they would have lost. That doesn't happen that way, because when rich people do make that mistake of losing money, rich people kill themselves. We've seen it happen. That's all that they care about. It happens. So when you keep talking about how you have no interest and no idea of what happened to the company that had shares in this group that you've never heard of before, it's a blatant lie. I don't care what you have to say. If they can call other folks that want more than $1,200 in a one-time thing in the middle of all this lazy and incompetent and begging for more, we can't say that about folks like this who have tons of things but have moved money around to hurt others more. Let's get it straight. This hurts other people. This isn't just a backdoor deal where you have an advantage with normal things when you're trading on the stock market with insider information. Not that this is what's happening here, but they're influencing the policy based off of their bottom line. It's a similar approach.
Yeah, so let's hear a little bit more about this bottom line, because
right.
it goes
For some reason that annoyed me more than others.
This should outrage everyone, but I'm glad that at least we're getting the information. So, how deep does it go? Well, it goes even deeper. One of the largest manufacturers of the drug, Novartis, previously paid Trump's now-incarcerated former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, more than $1 million for healthcare policy insight following Trump's election in 2016. So, now, the unfortunate thing is the only person who hypothetically could get in trouble for us finding that out now is one of the only people that got in trouble already and is now in jail, because nothing's going to happen to the investor, nothing's going to happen to Trump, but Michael Cohen's already serving time. But additionally, several generic drug makers are gearing up to produce the drug, including Amneal Pharmaceuticals, whose co-founder, Chirag Patel, is a member of Trump National Golf Course Bedminster in New Jersey and has golfed with Mr. Trump at least twice since he became president, according to a person who saw them.
How many times since the coronavirus outbreak happened?
I don't know, but I have a feeling they're probably in touch. People are just making bank, and they're setting up to, like, it's 18 months until a vaccine. Once the vaccine gets made, gear up for incredibly infuriating news about the Trump administration giving one company exclusive rights to produce it and jack up the price as much as they want. Like, that's for next season. For this season, they're not going to wait for that. They need to make money now. And so they need to hype up a drug that is going to get sold even before we find out if it's effective or not. And they're going to make tons of money off of that. And along the way, really fast, along the way, the medical experts that are trying to caution people about the incredibly severe side effects of it and all of that, and trying to tamp down this public hype about it, they are being warned not to do so. So even though Dr. Anthony Fauci has been outspoken in his skepticism of using hydroxychloroquine, Politico reports that other career health officials behind the scenes have, quote, been warned not to publicly speak out and potentially contradict Trump, even as they've raised concerns about, quote, the risk to some Americans' heart health and other complications from taking the drug. So responsible medical professionals that are trying to get people to stop taking this and dying, or not worrying about the virus because, hey, we've got hydroxychloroquine, we're going to be fine. They're being told, no, Trump is in charge of medical reality. You will bow down to him, and you're not going to say anything in public that is going to make him look bad and get in the way of him and all the rich people he knows making a ton of money off this thing.
Yep, you're not going to mess this up for me. That's all that says. That's how our government works.
That's when you run government like a business. You know what you get? Investment opportunities. That's what you get.
Especially if you run like a corrupt business. It's even worse.
Like a Trump business.
Yeah.
Okay, so really fast. Ronnie says, greetings from the land down under. Thank you. And Ronnie, stay safe.
Is that song going to be on your mind the rest of the day now?
What?
Remember the 80s song, The Land Down Under?
It wasn't going to be.
Hey,
now. Sorry,
maybe you can use that as the next 80s theme song for your show.
Maybe. Shut up.
If you have another one.
Actos and Richard, thank you for your super chats as well. Digital Demonic Davros says, 3 a.m., my favorite damage report from Adelaide. Thank you. Mecca says, accountability is a foreign language to these people. Well, yeah, they've been trained recently that there isn't going to be any. Trump can do anything he wants. He's going to be just fine. Okay, my dog is he's wanting attention, but unfortunately the show must go on.
Mine just came over here too, except he doesn't want attention because he knows he's not getting it.
Anyways. I'll borrow him. I'll give them both attention. Anyway, why don't we turn to some relatively recently breaking news? The White House press secretary is out. Long live the White House press secretary. Stephanie Grisham is returning to serve on First Lady Melania Trump's staff. Although I have to wonder, is she serving in the same way that she served as press secretary? Will Melania Trump ever see her? Because she was the press secretary that never, talked to the press, was never a secretary for the press. I tweeted earlier today, I don't know if you watched The Office, but press secretary has all of the actual meaning day to day of assistant to the regional manager. It doesn't actually mean anything, but she is gone. So what do you think about that?
John, I'm more upset that you missed, or maybe it wouldn't have flowed very well, but you gave me the vibes, the rock vibes. I know you're a rock fan, the wrestler, the actor. Finally, Stephanie Grisham has come back to the First Lady's office.
I had forgotten that line, but yeah.
You kind of said it. You said finally she's back.
Finally.
If they have this ceremony where they announce her like that, that'd be awesome. Number one. Number two, we were talking about this morning. We had the morning meeting. I want to say Doug Collins, but he's the one that's running in Georgia. Mark Meadows, who's become the new chief of staff after they booted Mulvaney out. I think I read this. His first thing was to come in and try and take care of Stephanie Grisham, get her out of there, bring in someone else. So I think this is a bit of that directive from him. It's kind of his first moves in his position is to make sure that happens. And I think that's all it was. I mean, as we point out, she's done nothing as far as publicly. Any statement that's come out with her name on it, I'm pretty sure she didn't write.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she was kind of there because they had no intention of having any press conferences at all, especially with her speaking to the press, who's getting more and more involved in exposing the BS that this administration continues to carry out.
It is ridiculous how much money she was able to make for doing virtually nothing, like going on cable news.
And let's keep real, she's not fired. First, she's going back to her other job. I mean, I'm sure it's not getting paid minimum wage.
I have a feeling. Now, she is gone, but we do obviously need to have a press secretary, and we do. Kayleigh McEnany, a campaign spokeswoman, will replace her. The latest shakeup, blah, blah, blah. So, Kayleigh McEnany is a person who started going on cable news to defend Trump no matter what in 2016, including when he was bragging about sexually assaulting women in the infamous tape. She was, you can see on Media Matters, all of her stuff, like, no, he's not saying that, he's not saying that. She was nobody. She defended Trump, lied for him, lied about his lies.
Yep.
And so now she's going to be the press secretary.
She showed up every chance she could on CNN as a contributor to talk about, as you pointed out, the main thing that stuck out from her, because I think it was Chris Cuomo was appalled when she said, Trump has never lied. He goes, okay, you can still support the guy and point out that he's lied. She goes, no, I'm being for real. He's never lied. Yeah. So anytime you see a Trump supporter, especially when it comes to an official, someone who has some kind of position in some levels of the Republican Party or in government, they're auditioning. Every chance they get on Fox News, CNN, anything, when they say ridiculous things, and then we talk about how ridiculous they are, how big of a lie this is, and how they can actually show their face in public saying this stuff, all it is an audition. So we see insanity. Trump sees a candidate for a position. And I mean, you know what? Hey, the results are only proving the process. So if I have aspirations of becoming a press secretary, and I look at what Kayleigh McEnany has done, I was like, well, that's the blueprint. When it comes to this administration, just say whatever, lie, kneel down, kiss the ring, and you'll get the job. It works.
Yeah, they know it. They're either trying to get on Fox News, they're trying to sell a book, or they're trying to get a job in the administration because loyalty is the only requirement. And like, does CNN not know that when they're bringing these people on, when they're regularly given like a massive platform to people that they know will come on and lie and say things that they don't believe?
But that's I feel like it's just part of the game. I don't think CNN has a plan to allow her to audition. They're like, well, we have an idiot that's going to say anything. Let's have a fight on air. That's where it ends, because then enough people will watch it. Enough advertisers will be happy with the ratings. The ratings will be fine. And then we go through the circle again. So everyone kind of uses this as a money-making scheme in their own ways. Kayleigh McEnany is like, I'll go on CNN and look like an idiot. Doesn't matter that Trump likes me to look like it. Likes for people to look like idiots. That's how you get into his inner circle. It worked. CNN has a fight on air every other night. That works. Make money.
It works for money, yes. It's infuriating. Yeah. It's a waste of our time. Yeah, stop bringing on people who are liars. Like that doesn't seem like it's not an honest disagreement on values or policy. It's not. It's people who are saying what they know is not true, but that is good for their career to say. And that is one of the biggest issues in media right now, is the financial incentive to lie to your audience, because your audience wants you to lie to them.
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, maybe it's a good audition, because she's proven that she can lie on camera for an extended period of time in the name of the president. And that's lately what the role of the press secretary is.
And so I thought about putting together like this is Kayleigh McEnany, like 10 things she said. Maybe we'll do that later on. I wanted to give you one, though. This is from February. This was her saying, "This president will always put America first. He will always protect American citizens. We will not see diseases like the coronavirus come here. We will not see terrorism come here." And isn't that refreshing when contrasting it with the awful presidency of President Obama? So, yeah, it's here. Well over 1/3 Americans have it. Like 12,000 Americans already documented have died from it. So will there be a moment, a picosecond of reckoning where she will say, man, I could not have been more wrong. And I was saying that, like, man, it feels good that he's going to protect us. Not like Obama. Remember when Ebola killed 1 million Americans? Not like that. We want someone who actually protects us. Oh, wait, no, I'm totally wrong. He didn't do anything. People are dying by the thousands every single day. Ebola didn't ravage America. Like, there's a moment potentially for learning there that she has no financial incentive to experience. If she did, she'd be done. Her career would be over if she acknowledged that.
You can't acknowledge your mistakes. And I don't know if somebody's going to ask her, hey, so Kaylee, there's this quote where you said that there was this disaster, the awful presidency of Obama based off of all these things that you said he brought in terrorists, and then there's never going to be coronavirus ever going to step foot on this country. So if we break down that statement, since you were wrong, because black and white, you were wrong. You said coronavirus. Let's read it again. We will not see diseases like the coronaviruses come here. Let's just stop there. Is it here, Kaylee? Okay, yes, it's here. If you say no, then it's the end of the conversation.
No, it's the governors didn't do enough in China something, and China did it, and I'm hearing about a biolab in North Carolina, and but.
Actually, that might be, you're right, that might be a thing. It's the governor's fault, it's China's fault, it's all these people's fault. So I was like, I thought President Trump was the all-powerful mighty human being who can stop anything. That's what you said before. So you have to admit it's here. Now that it is here, does that mean this presidency is as awful as the presidency of Obama, since that's what you were comparing it to, since that wouldn't happen? It's happened, so doesn't that mean it's awful? Answer me the question. If it's not awful, that means it's not here. There's a problem with logic with this statement and then your potential answer to it.
Yeah, I feel like we could take that clip of you saying there's a problem with the logic of your statement and apply it to anything that she has ever said, and virtually everyone in politics these days has said. There's a problem with the logic. Okay, so we have 2 other stories we want to get to really fast. Susan had sent in a super chat saying, I am on Plaquenil to slow the development of lupus. I had a call a week ahead to see if the pharmacy could even get it. Luckily, they got a shipment, and that's another consequence. There's the health consequences for people who take it, and then the people who actually need it. Might not be able to get it. And
this is across the board with a lot of medications, people that have general, pain management type of things. It's probably hard to get your medications. It's probably also hard to get the hell out of the house to get it because you're more at risk and you're going to go to a pharmacy where it's other potentially sick people with generally, again, I'm sorry to bring this tangent again, John. We're going to get to those last 2 stories, but we forget, and I have not completely consciously, but there's other health issues going on in the country, like normal days, right? We're still humans. We're still people who have issues. Someone breaks their arm because they, fell off a ladder, So those things are still happening. And people that have a normal, chronic, long-term issues with their health, this is even harder for them. They can't do anything. So they don't want to catch a cold, many people, let alone something like this. And having to have more hurdles to get through to find access to what you need is just another part of the problem.
Yeah. So there was a request from Carson to see my dog. And so, hello, say hi. That's my dog. He's a very good dog.
Yeah.
I'm going to let him relax.
I made Sprocket make an appearance yesterday on my live.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see that.
I went that far.
He's a great dog.
Yeah.
And by the way, thank you, Carson, for that. Rare says Anna did a random live stream yesterday. Is she okay? I didn't see that live stream. As far as I know, she is 100% okay, and she'll be doing not only the main show today, but also the election coverage that we're going to be doing because we live in a hell world. It shouldn't be happening, but it is.
Maybe there's details behind it. I mean, I figured Anna doing a live stream means that she is okay. Maybe there's something that was, I don't know the details of
maybe
that.
Maybe it only went for a few seconds or something. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
But with that, why don't we move on to other news? It's been weeks now that we know that multiple senators, including Kelly Loeffler, used the confidential information they were given a couple months ago about coronavirus to make a huge amount of money and avoid losing large amounts of money on the stock market. And there have been calls for them to be kicked out of their office, if not sent to prison for the obvious insider trading that they engaged in. Thus far, there have been no consequences. But today, indications that there might be consequences. There might be justice, kind of, not really, but something. So here's what we've got. Congressman Doug Collins, the former top Republican on the House Judiciary Committee, is leading Miss Loeffler 36% to 13% in Georgia's all-party special election. Among likely voters who identify as Republicans, Mr. Collins led Miss Loeffler 70 to 20%, which means that she probably will not go to prison, and the guy that will potentially replace her is probably, a disaster of his own, but she might lose her job at the very least, and thus access to the information that she will use to, engage in future corruption.
Well, I mean,
you impressed
at
at
least
all?
she'll still be able to do it. Yeah, she'll at least still be able to continue to trade to the degree that she does on the stock market without anyone nagging her about it and talking about how she potentially is utilizing this whole pandemic for her financial gain. But so there's a natural thought that you want to celebrate this horrible person potentially losing. We'll see where it goes.
We'll see.
Getting, at least the poll showing her getting trounced right now. But Doug Collins.
Yeah? You think he might be just as bad?
I mean, maybe for different reasons. I don't know what his portfolio is like. I'm not sure what his insider trading skills are. Again, I'm not accusing him of doing it, just looks that way. I'm not sure his degree of being involved in the stock market in times like this, but I do know he was one of the loudest, boisterous, annoying voices during every issue that Trump had that he was exposed for as illegal activity, being one of the biggest offenders and kneelers to the president. So this is also the same guy that once he decided to make this run in the Senate, the Republican Party, the state Republican Party there wanted nothing to do with him making this move. They got really upset. It's one of the few times you'll see Republicans openly discourage and almost kind of beat down one of their own and saying, how dare you do this right now? Hey, stay right there. This is going to be a problem. What if you run up here and this happens? They had an issue with his move. And maybe he had some inside information about her inside information.
Yeah.
And he knew this was going to fall apart for her and he wanted to take advantage. But they were not on board. I wonder how much they've switched now.
Yeah, I don't know. And look, we're going to end up, if he gets the seat, that's going to be terrible too. But I don't know, at least temporarily, I want to see something like justice because we're finding out more and more. I'm going to give you details on another individual in just a second, but there has to be some kind of consequences for this. And it has been infuriating to me over the past few weeks that so few in the media have stayed on this story. Like that we were just like, that does seem like that's wrong. Okay, so what else is going on? Man, that Tiger King, that's something. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I totally get it. But this is horrendous. And as I tweeted earlier, maybe this is going too far. I don't know. But if you sell off stock knowing that the stock market is going to collapse to avoid losing money, that is one thing. When you buy up stock in companies that will only do well if coronavirus devastates America, then think about the incentives that provides for you. When you go to vote or to lead on legislation or to slow roll legislation or just stay quiet about what could be done, you have a financial incentive against the interest of the American people and the continuation of their lives. And I know what you'll say. Well, obviously they're not going to do something that will kill people just to make some money. Okay, first of all, I don't think that's obvious, but do you really want to be in a position where we have to hope that she puts our medical interests ahead of her financial interests? Do you really want to be in that position? I don't know her. She's been in that position for a couple of months. Do you really trust her to make the right call based on what you know about her stock activity? I damn sure don't.
And what is about her as a politician that has you trust her and her potential in changing your health? I mean, look, when Obamacare was rolled out, there was a lot of people who were against it. They said, I can't trust a guy to get between me and my doctor, death panels, all the things they were pushing. So for some reason, why don't those things apply to another person that's in public office that doesn't know you and has proven they don't care about you or care about policies that will help you? It's, again, they prove themselves, but we just refuse to listen at times. And maybe people are starting to listen with her situation because look what's happening.
And look, she's obviously not the only one, so I want to update you on another individual that was potentially engaging in these sorts of activities. Senator David Perdue of Georgia bought stock in DuPont, a chemical company that produces personal protective equipment, on the same day the Senate received a classified briefing on the spread of the novel coronavirus, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Let me give the details on the transactions. Purdue's disclosure form lists 112 transactions, 82 of which were made on March 3rd alone. 76 were stock purchases of as much as $1.8 million. The report also documents 34 stock sales worth as much as $825K.
Wow.
The Journal-Constitution reported that Purdue's portfolio activity from March onward was 3 times busier than it was in the last 13-month period before the coronavirus hit the U.S. So Shore acted fast and acted a lot, far more than in literally more than a year beforehand. But according to spokeswoman for Purdue, Sherry Gillian, she said that since coming to the U.S. Senate in 2015, Senator Perdue has always had an outside advisor managing his personal finances, and he's not involved in day-to-day decisions. For the past 5 years, the senator has fully complied with federal law and all Senate ethics requirements. I don't doubt those last two parts, because the law is set up in a way to allow them to get away with all sorts of things, and there are virtually no ethics requirements whatsoever. So that's a funny little trick you've got there. But the idea that he left a meeting and went and immediately bought shares in a company that theoretically will do very well as a result of what our government knew but wasn't saying about coronavirus. Oh yeah, I'm sure an outside advisor just happened to come to the same conclusion that the senator did based on confidential information that he had just gotten. For all we know, he rushed into the hallway, put Prudential or whatever on his phone, I don't know what app he uses, and bought the stock right then. That is some coincidence.
Yeah, and then you can say within the law, the lawyers speak always is highlighted, or it gets exposed in these situations. Hey, he did everything he did within the law during this time period that they would allow him to. Yeah, and there's a lot of allowances within the law to allow people to do things like this and get away with it. Only certain people, by the way, not everyone. So, okay, we talked before about how Loeffler had her issues, and maybe we should just not even allow if you're elected official to even trade, so you don't even have the look of impropriety, huh? How about that? Okay, so let's take a step further. Okay, you have no idea what your outside blind financial advisor who's making the moves with $825,000 in one small piece of your money is doing. Okay, it's okay. So since you're separated from them and you're an elected official and you work for us, we get to ask your financial advisor, what was the reasoning then? Show us the reasons why you did what you did at the time. Yeah. And yeah, that seems like it's violating his personal information. Am I right? You don't get that personal information anymore because it looks like you're defrauding the American people to profit off of sicknesses and deaths and information that you could have given to everyone else to save more lives. So yes, we are privy to that information now. If you're saying you have nothing to do with it, what are the reasons that you had this cure? You hit home runs every time, just blindly. This is a really good financial advisor. He should work for everybody, huh?
He should. He shouldn't. Look, so obviously I don't think they should be allowed to have stock. I think that they should be banned from making money in all sorts of different ways. Lifetime ban on lobbying. They shouldn't be able to do the high dollar speeches and all that. If they're going to be servants of us, let them be actual servants. Okay, they shouldn't be making huge amounts of money. But someone pointed out, we said, that like you can't bet on, an athletic event that you're part of if you're a professional. Yeah. Someone pointed out, you can't join contests and raffles that are sponsored or hosted by your own company in a lot of cases, but you can buy stocks that'll be affected by your actions as a politician. And why is it, by the way, that we haven't found one senator who left these meetings and went and invested in, froyo and escape rooms? No one made bad financial decisions coming out of those meetings. Isn't that weird that we haven't found one? Maybe they're just shy.
No one left and then went and put a bunch of money into Ford.
Yeah, or Banana Republic. Everyone came out, like you said, like just batting, 500. I don't know.
Batting 1,000.
Bet 1,000, I guess. Okay, I didn't want to go too far.
500 is pretty good too, but no, it is. They're batting at an incredible rate right now.
I hear 300 is good. I hear it's good. Jeter, Anyway, sports on the damage report. Where's Ricky Strum? Let's get him in here. Anyway, okay, so super fast. We got one more story, but there have been some more super chats I want to respond to, including Army of One, who said, "Your dog is so cute." Thank you. Hilo's a cutie. He's a very good dog. Netikins, thank you for your fox.
Oh, and by the way, you guys, on that line, adopt, don't breed. Yes, I'm hearing several stories lately, and it's annoying me.
Yes. Lane says, my partner and I live in Wisconsin. I watch TYT every day. 2 more votes for Bernie and a screw you to Voss and Fitzgerald. Vote Lena Taylor. Thank you, Lane. I appreciate that. Miss Callie gave us a, looks like a sassy older woman emoji. We appreciate that. And I saw a comment from Jahidower, who says, thank you, John and JR, for doing the good work. My wife and I are two IT members and know how much the world needs perspectives like yours right now. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
And with that, let's get to our last story. We usually like to end on a lighter note, and we're not doing that today. Okay. A Louisville area doctor is now facing charges for becoming so infuriated by the fact that a young woman, a group of young people, were not engaged in proper social distancing routines that he began to strangle her. Okay, this is, warning. This is difficult footage to watch, but here it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're leaving. Please, let's not cuss at each other. No, I'm not calling you anything, sir. Just don't talk to us with
this right here.
Hey, don't touch. Hey,
do not touch.
Hey,
Oh my God!
What's your problem? You do not touch me. Do not touch me. You give me my hey! Get away from her! Oh my God! Get off of her! Seriously, get off of her! Go!
So, you see there, it looks like there's a few people, and he engages, verbally with a few. It appears, from what I've seen in the video, that he has singled out the one black girl in the group to take to the ground and begin strangling.
It sounded like it's like you started this, or it's because of you. I couldn't tell when he decided to attack fully on this young woman. I don't know where this is going. I hope it's the fullest extent of assault charges are put against this guy. Because he's worried about, what is it again? Social distancing. Mm-hmm. So what does strangulation require you to do? Violate
social distancing pretty severely, usually.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just maybe some, air, they say like sneezing and air matter and spittle is part of the transmission process. But let's just go ahead and touch someone, strangle them, and maybe that'll prove your point. No, man, this guy needs to be put under the jail. Is one of the worst people out there. So this is how you're looking to get things done now. Mm-hmm. Hey, how about you walk away? And I've seen plenty of people. I've been out. I had a couple runs last week or 2 weeks ago now. Shit, I missed a whole week. So the thing is, what happens is you see people out without masks on. You see people close to each other. I've seen a few gatherings, and you know what I do when I see it? I'm like,
yeah,
wish they do better. And then what I do is I go that way.
Yeah. So you don't literally touch them, get in their face.
Yeah. We see people do things
we
don't agree with all the time. You know what you do? You go, oh, stay safe.
Yeah.
Moving. What does that have to do with you?
Jesus. Yeah. So the suspect has been identified as a physician for Southern Indiana anesthesia consultants in nearby New Albany, Indiana. He was placed on administrative leave while the incident was investigated. A police report shows the 18-year-old victim suffered minor injuries when a man choked her and impeded her breathing, and he could face a felony charge of first-degree strangulation. I mean, there's a camera in his face. Two cameras. He knows he's being filmed, and he got on the ground over a girl and began to strangle her, which is what you do when you are attempting to kill a person. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that he wanted to kill her, was trying to kill her, but that's what you do when you try to kill a person. And so bizarre that he's like sparring back and forth with a couple of girls who are standing and they're swearing at each other. The girl's on the ground. He goes over to her to try to strangle her. And like obviously there's racism concerns there, clearly.
Satisfy himself is what it was. People just like that to satisfy their superiority, to satisfy their anger, and he's like, let me go for the person that I hate the most. Let's go for the person I think is the most vulnerable. She's already on the ground. I can just jump on her because I'm a weak human being. And he also attacked a group of young women that he assumes can't fight back enough to dismantle him. There's many words that I want to say about him, what should have happened if there was other people there that could take care of him physically. So that all that is maybe it's subconscious in his head, but it's definitely seen as an opportunity to fulfill some kind of a desire he wanted to attack people based off of something he disagreed with. You can disagree with it. Nobody's saying that you're wrong about disagreeing with it. Disagree with it in your head and walk away.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I always feel bad, like, doing stories like this, especially now. Like, we want to focus, and we do focus sometimes on the people who are helping and making things better. Mm-hmm. But we also can't ignore that there are people that at a time when people are pulling together and they're being better versions of themselves, some people are worse versions of themselves, or normal. Maybe he's that terrible all the time. But that's a doctor. That's someone who literally, thanks to the anesthesia, has the power over whether people live through medical procedures. And this is a person who apparently has been going through their day waiting to strangle someone, waiting to be given an excuse to do that. Because there's every physical reason in the world to just walk away from that group.
Yeah.
That's what's angering you, is the fact that they're too close. And yet you get on top of them and you begin strangling.
We'll put it in the worst case scenario. You walked by and you said, hey, young ladies, hey, you guys should probably not be collected together. Maybe remember practice social distancing. And maybe they'll scream back and throw a middle finger at you and say, F you, old man. And if that happens, you know what you do? You go, kids these days. Walk away.
And then walk away. Yes.
So I don't care if they were the initiators of any kind of anger or any kind of, hey, get out of here, or rudeness. I don't care. I don't care.
And by the way, you can't be shocked by it. When you're like a 50 or 60-year-old person and you go into a park and you happen across a group of teenagers, the end result is you're going to be frustrated, annoyed, or infuriated by their behavior. That's just what always happens, even not in a pandemic. That's what groups of teenagers in parks do. They infuriate you. Anyway, the guy deserves the charges that he hopefully will get. But it's America, so who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, JR, thank you so much always for joining us, and especially on short notice to stand in for Emma until she can be on the show tomorrow. We really do appreciate it.
So she's taking over Wednesdays now? What's going on?
No,
bro?
not permanently, just for tomorrow.
Hey, there's a problem. Hey, we're going to make a phone call about this and make sure she doesn't think she's doing this, because this is a problem.
Forever? Okay, I will try to dissuade her from taking over JR Wednesdays. But thank you, and everybody
I got
home.
T-shirts.
I'll send you a T-shirt. Okay. Oh, did you get the T-shirts yet?
No, I've been working on it.
Okay, we'll work on it. Yeah, and I'm going to finally have my pie shirt at some point. Anyway, everybody home, thank you for joining us, liking the video, everyone who engaged in the chat and the super chat. We really do appreciate that. I'm going to be doing an interview with a candidate a little bit later on today, which will be up on the channel. It's not going to be live, so you are going to have to check the channel a little bit later on, but that will be available, as well as other interviews that we're conducting over the next few days. So as always, thank you for joining us, and we will see you